Hello there. So you finally decided that you want to buy an e-ink note-taking tablet. Awesome. But there is a problem. Which one do you buy? There's even a bigger problem. The best way to know whether a particular tablet is right for you is to actually have some hands-on time with it, to actually try out the different features, see what it feels like, what it sounds like to write on, whatever the things are that you find most important. Well, there's some bad news. And the bad news is you can't just go to a local store to try these devices out in most cases. In fact, uh, it's almost impossible to get any hands-on experience with these devices at all. If you're lucky, you might know someone who has an e-ink note-taking device, and maybe you'll get some experience if you can borrow that device for a little bit. But what are the odds of that? So for most people looking to buy a device, there's this gap, this difficulty in knowing what might be the right fit for you because there's this inability to get any direct experience with the devices, and that's frustrating. I wish there was an excellent way around that, but there really isn't. But there are tools out there that are helpful, and they can help to the best that they can bridge that gap and help you in making a buying decision. So we're going to talk about one of those tools today, something that I think is really fantastic that I want to share with you, and I hope that you will find it helpful. So let's go take a look now. So what you see on the screen is a website which is called eWritable.com. And if you look at the upper left, you can see the name of it here. So to get to here, you write out eWritable, ditch the exclamation point, and add a .com. In its entirety, this site is a fantastic resource for a lot of information, not just on e-note-takers, but e-readers. I see there's a new section for e-ink monitors. There's some buying guides, a lot of great information for someone who's looking to purchase any type of e-ink device. Of course, today we're going to focus on e-note-takers, but just know that there's a lot of other information here as well. Now, this is the home screen for this site. And your next step is you're going to go to this button, which says Kit Bet Masters Ratings, which I've highlighted there. And let's click on that now. So when you click that button, you end up on this page. And before we go into this and kind of look at the functionality and how to read the results, we're going to go ahead and click on this message from Kit Betts Masters and Dan Dutton. Hopefully I'm pronouncing those names correctly. And I just want to highlight this because these are the two individuals that have really come together to make this tool. Kit is a YouTuber. You can see his videos that covers all sorts of e-note-taking devices, among other topics as well. And he's really the source of the ratings. It's his reviews that have gone into the information that we're going to see. Dan is the gentleman who actually curated those and put it into this webpage and into these various graphs and tables that you see here on this site. I've never actually met either of these individuals. I've had no interactions with Kit, at least as of this recording. And Dan and I have had a little bit of interaction on Reddit, but for the most part, I don't have any association with this site other than those interactions. But I just wanted to highlight the people who created this, helped to create this webpage, and there are links to how to get in touch with either of those folks here. But let's go ahead and head on back. All right, we're back to the graph page, and we're ready to have some fun. So what you'll notice here is there's a list of devices. It's not an exhaustive list, but all the major players are here, and some secondary players as well. So I would argue it's a pretty good list, actually. And then below that are a number of criteria that you can measure each device on. So there's use cases, professional behaviors, software, hardware, and then details related to the manufacturer as well. So all these aspects can be graphed and you can compare devices based upon them. So why don't we just do kind of a one scenario and see how that works. So I'm going to go ahead and compare the Remarkable 2 versus the Rada Supernote A5X. this is a good comparison. Both devices tend to be a little more, much more focused than, say, devices from Boox or BigMe. They're much more note-taking oriented, and so this is a good comparison of two somewhat similar devices. So we'll go ahead and click on a few use cases, and I'll focus on reading, presenting, work, let's say, and then professional behaviors. We'll do maybe collaboration. We'll look at the pen and screen feel, and we'll go with that. That's pretty good. So we've got about 5 dimensions that we're going to look at here, and we'll go ahead and plot that now. And here's the result. This is what's called a spider graph, and basically the idea is that the larger the area for each device, the better that device is. And then, of course, you can compare the two geometric shapes that are created. Here, the super note is in blue, and then the remarkable is in pink. Basically, this is saying that the super note is about 1 point better on reading and pen and screen feel, a couple points better on work, but the remarkable is a little bit better on collaboration, and according to this, 3 points better on presenting. Now, when I go through this, and especially the devices that I've owned myself, and I go through the dimensions that I care about, what I've tended to find is that my ratings and Kit's ratings are generally in alignment. There's sometimes we're exactly on, sometimes I feel like I'm 1 point higher or lower than he is. And I would say probably 80% of the time it's one of those two scenarios, which to me is spot on. There are times when I disagree, and this might be one of them where I'm looking at this and he's saying that the remarkable 2 is better for presenting over the super note. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if I would see that large of a gap between the two devices. In fact, I might even say that the devices are equal. So it's not perfect, but I would say that I'm surprised overall to the degree that I tend to agree with Kit's ratings. And so, not perfect, nothing is, but it's a fantastic starting point. And at a minimum, maybe helps you to weed down the type of devices you're considering, and then going to do additional research, as opposed to relying just on one data set. But for one data set, it's quite good. Now, just for fun, why don't we go ahead and add in another device, and we'll add in the hottest device right now on the note-taking market, which is the Boox Tab Ultra C. So I'm going to go down here and just go ahead and update that. And what we can clearly see what Kit thinks about that. I mean, the area of the Tab Ultra C overwhelms the other 2 geometric shapes and outscores them in every category but pen and screen feel. So, that's a pretty compelling argument, at least the way that Kit ranks them. Let's compare 2 devices that I have, the Boox Tab Ultra C and the BigMe inkNote Color. And I actually own the BigMe inkNote Color Plus, which is the next version of the BigMe inkNote Color, the main difference being Kaleido 3, which is also what the Tab Ultra C has. So these are 2 Kaleido 3 devices, although his rankings will reflect the previous version, so I have to keep that in mind. But let's go ahead and see what that looks like. And pretty similar devices, at least along these axes. Extra point there for presenting, and a couple extra points for work. Same on the reading score, same on pen, screen and feel, and same on collaboration. I think I generally agree with that, actually. I don't have the Tab Ultra C, but I do know from other reviews what some of those attributes are. And just based on that, this feels like a pretty reasonable representation of the 2 devices. There's other dimensions we could look at. Let's look, for example, at design and build of the hardware, the Notes app. We'll click on that, and updates. Let's add those to the mix and see what happens. All right, interesting. So now we're seeing more categories where the Tab Ultra C is scoring higher than the Big Me Ink Note color, and again, I generally pretty much agree with this in concept. Um, collaboration, just kind of going around the dial and again, if I were to be critical of each of these ratings, I might change them a little bit in my mind based on my experience, but as a general uh, once over, they look pretty reasonable to me. And if these are the categories that you were interested in and you were comparing these two devices, then I think it's pretty clear which one would be the best fit for you. So just an incredibly powerful tool. Of course, one dimension we don't see here is the price. And I do believe there are tables that have prices on them. And of course, prices are continually changing. So that's probably a good idea that they keep those out so as not to have to constantly update their underlying database. But there's the tool in a nutshell. So just an amazing tool with incredible flexibility. We can add a lot more devices in there. Let's go ahead and throw back in the Supernote, the Remarkable. That gives us 4. Hell, why don't we put in the Kindle Scribe too and see what we get. Whoops, it did not. Oh, there we go. It almost choked on it, but it did. It's getting a little ridiculous now, obviously. I think it's still usable though. You can pretty much still tell the dimensions for each device. It is asking a lot to layer on 5 different geometric images on top of each other, but it can be done. And we could add additional categories along each spider web as well. So just a lot of flexibility. It's really an extraordinary tool and one that I highly recommend for others. And here you have a link to Kit's channel, but you also have links where you can purchase each of the devices that you're comparing. Another fantastic update. So, as I said in the beginning, the most ideal situation is hands-on experience, and unfortunately, in lieu of that, you have to look for the next best thing. And as the next best thing, I think that this website and this graph in particular, and the functionality within it, is a really good next best thing. And it's something I recommend to anyone who's just kind of getting in to the note-taking arena without a lot of experience. And even those with some experience, I think, will still find for your next note-taking device, this is a helpful tool. So if you have any questions, as always, please put them into the comment section. I'd love to answer them, and I hope you found this helpful. All right, have a great day.